The Oklahoma Sooners running back room was pretty good in 2023, but I think it's a lot better in 2024.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. My name is John Williams. You can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams. My buddy here is Josh Helmer. You can follow him at JoshOnRef. You can also hear him Monday through Friday from 9 to noon on the KREF Sports app. Josh, the running back room was pretty disjointed last year, we could say, especially through the first half of the season with injuries, with inconsistent play, with inconsistencies within the offensive line. Going into the year, we thought it was going to be pretty good with Gavin Sawchuk, Javonte Barnes showing flashes in the Cheez-It Bowl, both having 100-yard games at the end of 2022. Tawee Walker had become a fan favorite. Everybody was expecting kind of big things out of him as well, but it just took a while for it to really settle in and find its stride. Well, here we sit getting ready for 2024, still feeling pretty optimistic about it. But I feel like depth chart wise, it looks like it's in a much better situation than it was last year. Obviously, health was a big reason why the running back room was so disjointed, and it never found a whole lot of consistency or chemistry early on in the season. But just talent wise, from top to bottom, I think it's trending in a much better direction.
It took a long time to get things going, and it did not play out according to plan a season ago for OU. We sat here and probably could have had a debate back and forth, and most Sooner shows could have had a debate back and forth about, is it Gavin Sawchuk? Is it Javonte Barnes that's the leading rusher for Oklahoma? Oh, well, I think it's Sawchuk. I think it's Barnes, but it's those two guys, right? It's those two guys, and that's what a combination for OU. Then Javonte Barnes was dinged up, and they kept trying to get him back, and he was never really fully right or back for Oklahoma. Gavin Sawchuk, he had the fantastic finish to last season where he rushed over the century mark in the final 5 games of the year and had 6 touchdowns in those final 5 games rushing. But it took until those final 5 games for Gavin Sawchuk to be Gavin Sawchuk. So, it did not go according to what many of us thought would be the scripted plan for Oklahoma last season. Tawee Walker at times looked like maybe he was Oklahoma's best running back, and probably at times didn't get enough of a look as Oklahoma's top running back. So I do think Oklahoma enters this season in a pretty good spot. If we get the Gavin Sawchuk that ended last season, that's a great starting point. If in fact Javonte Barnes is indeed healthy, then that's a nice addition. I liked what we saw from Sam Franklin in the spring game. Tatum still hasn't arrived, and you got to factor him into the room. Hicks is a player for Oklahoma there too. So I like the way the room looks, and I don't think that this season starts the way last season did for Gavin Sawchuk, where you had that excitement in the bowl game and then there wasn't the carryover. I do expect to see carryover this year for Gavin Sawchuk.
And let's throw in an Xavier Robinson as well, another big-time potential, addition, a big-time addition that could potentially earn some workload, up to 218 pounds per his Instagram, giving you a guy that could be a short yardage back, a la Ramondre Stevenson from back in the day. I say back in the day, just, like 5 years ago, something like that. This running back room has a lot more depth, and it has a lot more explosiveness and athleticism than it did last year. And that's not a slight to Tawee Walker, who's off to Wisconsin now and expects to factor in there a guy that played really, really hard. And again, did look like Oklahoma's best running back at different times, just for some reason, never was able to get that consistently going game to game. Much of the running back room was early in the season. As the offensive line got better, the running backs got better as well. And then Gavin Sawchuk just kind of took off and ran away with the job. But from top to bottom, I mean, from 1 to 5, 1 to 6 at running back, I feel like you feel much, much better because you have Sawchuk, you have Franklin, you have Barnes, Taylor Tatum, Xavier Robinson, all part of the rotation. I mean, we got Megwa as well, the Oregon transfer that we haven't even really seen. So it's a group that I think you have the potential to be able to rotate the running back position early in the season, especially so that you can keep fresh legs for later in the year. But say Javonte Barnes just isn't ready to carry that RB2 workload yet, you still have time and you have the ability to be patient with that because Sam Franklin showed what he showed in the spring game, because you've got a home run hitter in Taylor Tatum that can take 5 to 10 carries, even as a true freshman, even just arriving for summer workouts. You've got a guy like Xavier Robinson, who was a workhorse by every definition of the word at Carl Albert High, carrying that team to a 2022 state title. This is a group that has the potential to help take the work or take the pressure off of Jackson Arnold. And that's what you need. You need a running back group that is going to make things easy for your quarterback who's making his first run through a season as a starter.
What did you make of Tawee Walker's remarks as we think about the running back room? Obviously, Tawee Walker exited it. Looked like he was entering the portal, and then he actually stuck around for a little bit longer, and then, of course, does wind up at Wisconsin. He sort of broke down part of why he left. What did you think about what Tawee Walker had to say?
I mean, in essence, it's kind of what everybody felt. There wasn't a whole lot of direction, it seemed like, with the running back group last year. And just when it felt like maybe Tawee Walker was about to take off, then he took a back seat. And he admits that, the relationship between him and DeMarco Murray wasn't always smooth sailing. They had some conflict at times, stuff that was reported, at different points last season, but it never kept him from being on the team, doing his job, or being welcomed back to the Sooners. Brent Venables said as much, when it was discussed that Walker was around for practices. Brent Venables said he's welcome to come back if he doesn't find what he's looking for out in the portal. And I think that's a testament to the player and the person that Tawee Walker is, that, okay, you can have conflict with an assistant and yet you're still more than welcomed back into the running back rotation. So, he found a better opportunity for him out in the portal with Wisconsin. He's going to be able to be a factor with them. And so I think his comments aren't necessarily like a shot across the bow at Oklahoma or DeMarco Murray or Brent Venables or Jeff Levy necessarily. I think, or maybe it is, but it doesn't necessarily say anything different than what we saw, in that there was no real direction at running back until Gavin Sawchuk came back and looked like the Gavin Sawchuk we expected.
Here's the quote, by the way. This was posted to Tawee Walker's personal YouTube page. The quote: "I really felt like I was not trapped, but condensed, just not seeing my full potential. I feel like they used me as a third down back or a guy that's just like, hey, nobody else is doing anything. I know Tawee is going to do something. Let me put Tawee in. I just felt I should have been established the guy, or we should have had a 1 and 2 the whole year." He goes on to say the running backs room was just hectic. We didn't know who was starting what game. Nothing bad about DeMarco. I love DeMarco. He's a great coach, a great mentor. Me and him had a couple of issues last year, but it made us nothing but stronger, end quote. So I think a lot of fans would agree with some of what Tawee Walker said and felt as much last season. Obviously, Tawee Walker's moved on. I think you and I, we would gladly welcome Tawee Walker back into the equation for Oklahoma, but probably he does have a more leading role at Wisconsin. And so I guess from that standpoint, I don't know that wasn't guaranteed to be the case at OU. And I don't know that it winds up the case at OU. It certainly wasn't the case a year ago. So all parties better off in this.
It seems like, a better opportunity for Tawee Walker. And it seems like, it just creates an opportunity for Javonte Barnes to come back and get back into the mix, for Gavin Sawchuk to be the lead guy, for potentially a Taylor Tatum to come in and earn some running back rotation snaps early in his career. So I mean, we'll see. Time will tell if it works out well for all parties, or works out for the better for all parties. But in the moment right now, it seems like it's going to be a good thing. But I would have loved to see more of Tawee Walker last year. I know a lot of our listeners and followers here on Locked On Sooners were clamoring for more Tawee Walker. I remember our live shows constantly talking about Tawee Walker. So I and I agree with them. I think there was a time where you should have probably rode Walker a little bit harder than they did. At the same time, when Gavin Sawchuk got going, it was hard to not put the ball in his hands because he was really electric. The Oklahoma Sooners offensive line recruiting has been a huge storyline for the 2025 recruiting class. They didn't land the guy that they were in heavily pursuit of, but we'll see where it takes them. Coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising costs of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage, pretty much anything standing in the way of you and financial freedom, right? With Yahoo Finance, you can get access to the news, data, and tools that you need in order to help reach that financial freedom. I know for my family, I mean, we're investing, we're trying to make the right decisions, but it's hard to know. It's hard to know exactly where your money should be going to put you in a situation where, hey, by the time I reach 65, 66, 67, I'm going to be in good shape and I'm going to be able to retire and have a comfortable life beyond that. Well, that's why we go to Yahoo Finance. It helps give us the answers and give us the insight to know exactly what our investments are doing, the performance they're doing. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or are looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. So a recruiting battle between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Tennessee Volunteers this time went to Josh Heupel and the Vols for Antoni Ogumoro, the Elgin product who had only come on the scene in the last few months after receiving an Oklahoma offer, but early predictions in the recruitment believed it to be going Oklahoma's way. But in the end, it turns out he's going to Tennessee. Now, I like this player a lot. He's one of those kids that is new to the position, just played 1 year at offensive line and has all the skills, the tools, the footwork, the physicality, the aggression that you want to see out of an offensive lineman. But given that he's new to the position, there might be some other guys that Oklahoma liked maybe a little bit more that they are still in hot pursuit of. But you can't miss out on all of them. Missing out on a guy like AO, I think, who has star potential and the potential to be a really, really impactful player in college football. I think it's a miss. Now, you sit here and you tell me, okay, they're still going after Ty Haywood and Michael Fasusi and Lamont Rogers and Andrew Babaloa. I get that. I get that they've got some guys that they are prioritizing heavily. But for a guy like AO, an in-state kid who you seem to have their early momentum for, to not be able to land that is a bit of a disappointment for me. One, because I just really like the kid's game and I like what he brings to the table. And again, he's an in-state kid. So I would have liked to continue to lock down the state of Oklahoma from all invaders.
He moves so well. You flip on the tape and he's very fluid with that weight. And you think about, okay, he's got a chance to get stronger and can still, move like that, a pulling guard, the different things that maybe he could do for Oklahoma that unfortunately, at least at this juncture, going forward, he'll be doing for Tennessee. It's, look, you'd like to have Ogumoro in the class, obviously you'd like to have him in the class with Foje and with Hollenbeck. You would have liked to have knocked that third offensive line domino off for Oklahoma in 2025, but I'll be wait and see on it. Let's see what happens with some of these other targeted names on the board. And if Oklahoma closes there, then probably when we turn back around later, we say, look, would have been a nice bonus, but not the end of the world. But he's got the chance when you watch the tape of developing into a very, very nice player. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's no big deal. You would have liked to have had him in the class.
Just a cool note that his dad shared with me at one point, and I don't think he'll mind me sharing this, but he's the first athlete to represent our home island of Saipan from Micronesia. So that's just cool. That's just a cool thing. Like you think about the pride that, Polynesians and Hawaiians and the Micronesians have for just their island and their people and their tribe. And, we saw it with Dylan Gabriel. We've seen it with Marcos Mariota, and the list goes on and on and on. But just a cool feeling it has to be for Antoni to be able to say, hey, I'm representing Saipan and I'm going, to play, Power 4 football in the SEC, whether it was going to be for Oklahoma or for Tennessee. Just a cool feeling for him, only been on, the Power 4 recruiting radar for just the last few months, kind of under recruited at this point, but the offer sheet is pretty legit. And, going to Knoxville, it's going to be a big time program, a big time opportunity for him. So it's just kind of a cool moment for him and for his family and for his extended family and for Saipan as well.
No, that's awesome. You love stories like that. That's great. Wish him well in his future at Tennessee, and hopefully he can make everybody very, very proud. Just not too often against Oklahoma. If he can just spare us that.
That's right. That's right.
Save it for every other week on the schedule, I guess. But so where does Oklahoma turn to now?
So now you've got big time official visits coming up in June where for the Champ U barbecue, it's hosting Ty Haywood and Andrew Babaloa and Michael Fasusi and Lamont Rogers and making sure that you get at least one of those cats to go with Ryan Foje. Like if you are able to combine the two to go along with Owen Hollenbeck, then the offensive line recruiting class is looking really, really good. You get a little bit greedy and you land 2 of those 4, then you're feeling really stout about what this offensive line class looks like for 2025, because this is supposed to be what the defensive line recruiting class was for you in 2024. If you can land 2 of those 4 that I just mentioned, Babaloa, Haywood, Fasusi, or Rogers, then you're cooking with gas, and Bill Bedenbaugh is getting the recruiting wins that everybody's looking to him to get at this point. But I mean, the 2025 recruiting class is looking really, really strong right now. You get some of those big time 5-star. Lamont Rogers, he's a 4-star right now, but the other 3, Haywood, Fasusi, and Babaloa, are legit 5-star prospects. You get 1 or 2 of those guys and you feel great about where this class is headed.
Sure. And if you're Bill Bedenbaugh, you don't want to feel like the missing link, right, on the staff here in terms of recruiting and landing, high 4 and 5-star type talent. Though, for Oklahoma, if you land one of those guys, OU's made a habit of finding and developing some big time players out of the transfer portal too. So Coach Bedenbaugh has shown a propensity to not have to do it all out of the high school ranks. But again, I think we've sat here on enough occasions and said you want the lifeblood of the program to be still out of the high school ranks. So I get that Coach B has not needed to do that in every instance, but I think even Coach Bedenbaugh would say, yeah, let's go ahead and lock up a couple of those names, and then we can still do once or twice what sort of we've done out of the transfer portal.
Right. And I think he'd be the first to tell you that he wants to have those really high ceiling prospects to work with and develop as well. It's just sometimes you got to supplement through the transfer portal, and that's okay. Bill Bedenbaugh has earned the benefit of the doubt on the recruiting trail, on the developmental front, because he's just putting guys into the NFL left and right. Another dude who's having himself a spring, that is Braden Davis, was absolutely dominant against TCU in Oklahoma's 4-0 win over the Horned Frogs. We're going to discuss that next, coming up here on Locked On Sooners.
It is winner take all time in the NBA and in the NHL. FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. That's right. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. The numbers that we can share college football side with you. Again, Oklahoma getting 9.5 points versus Texas those win totals for the Sooners. It's been for a long time sitting there at over or under 7.5 wins. I still like the over for Oklahoma at 7.5 wins. And oh, by the way, that's plus 100, so plus money on the over 7.5. If you like, well, Oklahoma to be Oklahoma in 2024. That's with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com. FanDuel/locked on. Make every playoff shot count.
One of the things I love about baseball, Josh, is the big time pitching matchups that you get. I think back to, when I was a kid and watching, Greg Maddux and Pedro Martinez go at it, or, the Kurt Schillings and Pedro Martinez, like those big time matchups with the Yankees and all that. Well, we got a big time pitching matchup on Wednesday between Oklahoma and TCU, where Peyton Tole took on Braden Davis, two dudes that just could throw and could throw some heat. And it was Braden Davis that got the better of Tole, who was the Big 12 pitcher of the year. Davis was just phenomenal. 9 strikeouts, 9 shutout innings, only allows 4 hits. 3 of those 4 hits were doubles, and he found a way to work around them every step of the way. In the first inning, got a great defensive play out of Kendall Pettis to potentially, limit big time damage. I mean, there's a runner on second, and Kendall Pettis makes one of the best defensive plays you'll ever see to keep the runner at second and not allow a run to score and TCU to get extra bases. But man, Braden Davis was just on fire all day, just spotting his fastball really, really well, mixing in that changeup and throwing that changeup just devastatingly, catching TCU just way ahead on those pitches, and just looked really, really good. Only twice in his 9 innings did he reach a 3-ball count. That's how effective he was on the day.
Yeah, he was dynamite. And that Kendall Pettis play really set the tone for what was going to happen. There was another play that Spikerman made in center field, ranging over into the alley in left center, that was pretty spectacular, that actually KP had misread that ball, and Spikerman went over and found it. So he got some great defense behind him, which is not unique this season. The outfield in particular has been fabulous. Those guys can really cover a lot of ground. The Pettis play was incredible. It saved a run. It was about to be 1-0 TCU if that ball finds Globe Life Field. It did not, because KP, he is a walking web gym. But Braden Davis was tremendous. He was awesome today, as he's been for the most part all season long. Look, there's not a lot of times that guys toss complete game shutouts in the Big 12 tournament. Braden Davis did that today and is in John Gray type air. I mean, so when we're mixing that name in next to yours, then yeah, you've probably done something pretty special. And he certainly did that. 9 strikeouts over the 9 innings. And when you're in an event like this, John, if you can not tax the bullpen early, then that can go a long way toward you being able to put it together on the back end of going to win a Big 12 tournament championship. So Braden Davis got him a great start in this Big 12 tournament. Now they'll face Kansas, and I like their chances to advance to the semifinals.
Yeah, you mentioned John Gray also throwing that complete game shutout. Only 7 times in Big 12 tournament history has that happened. That's almost 30 years of Big 12 tournaments and lots of baseball games, but only 7 times has somebody thrown a complete game shutout. Again, a 4-hitter and no walks. That's the other really impressive aspect of that. No walks, only reached the 3-ball count twice, and threw something like 85 strikes of his 120 pitches. So just phenomenal. Jackson Nicholas was great. You mentioned the defensive play, had a double, had a home run, 2 RBIs. And then Anthony McKenzie went back to back with him. And that was the difference. Kendall Pettis, we talked about the defensive play, had the clutch 2-out hit to score Oklahoma's second run. So just a good team effort defensively at the plate, took care of business against a TCU team that, again, this is one of the teams that has the most Big 12 tournament titles in Big 12 history. So has a lot of history of success, was going to be a well-coached team coming into it, even though they've had a bit of a down year, and Oklahoma was able to take care of business.
They were, and that was a big AB from Pettis, because I think Oklahoma had a debate that maybe they were safe at home plate. They went to review, and the call was upheld that it was at the plate, but Pettis comes right back and boom, shoots one up the middle and gets you that run right back. Mentally, that was big. And then the 2 home runs. And you did it against Peyton Tole, who's the Big 12 pitcher of the year. So massive to get over that hurdle. Now you face Kansas. This offense, I think, can really get things going in its second day of Big 12 tournament play and put itself in a great position to, if you win in the Big 12 tournament semifinal and just get to the Big 12 tournament championship, have they locked up a national seed, John, or do they need to win 3 more and go win this Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, I think it's going to be close. I referenced Toby Rowland's kind of breakdown and his kind of opinion on the matter, where he said, you get to that Big 12 championship series and you're going to be a bubble team. You miss out on it and you're probably not going to be a top 8 seed. You win the whole thing and you probably earn yourself a top 8 seed. So I think it's going to be close. You still have a lot to play for if you're Oklahoma, which I think is great. I mean, everything matters. Every game, every pitch, every inning matters between now and the end of the tournament. It's going to help keep you on a positive trajectory and have that momentum going, through the rest of the Big 12 tournament and then into regionals and hopefully beyond.
Well, I will say that a couple of points recently, they look like a national seed to me. And, what Braden Davis did, out-dueling Tole today, the way that he did, Oklahoma's offense being able to just go dent the Big 12 pitcher of the year in one inning. And then, oh, by the way, boom, back-to-back on the home runs. I mean, that's what national seed teams do. Number 1 seed teams, Big 12 regular season champions, outright champions, they go to Cincinnati after they've got it locked up and they sweep the doubleheader. And then, they coughed up that final game. Looked like it was going to be a 7th Big 12 sweep, but they look like a national seed right now, the way the offense is cooking. Madron did not play in this game, so that's an impressive thing for Oklahoma that they're able to rest him up and still go find a way to win that ball game. So do they need to go win 3 more? I think at this point, now they might just need to win 2, John, because I just think the way that they've closed this regular season into now the postseason, they just look like a national seed. And the numbers can be whatever the numbers are. The RPI is not too far away from making a strong argument of just being in that top 10, top 8 by itself. But just the look, the appearance, the fact that you were an outright Big 12 champion, and we'll see what these next couple of days bring, they look like a national seed. And I know that's obvious, but to me, that's got to count for something.
Yeah. And one more point on this, Keegan Renaud, big Oklahoma, media guy, been kind of doing a lot of different things. Had a great point. I guess from the broadcast they mentioned, I was watching on mute because I had the kids all around screaming and stuff like that. So I couldn't hear the broadcast 100% of the time anyway, but that back in 2022, they had 3 pitchers with sub-5 ERAs. This year they have 7. So they look like a team that is more complete and could potentially make another trip to the College World Series and maybe to that championship series again. We'll find out. Can't wait to. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all platforms and on YouTube. Hit that notification bell and that like button to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Josh on Twitter at JoshOnRef here on Monday through Friday from 9 to noon on the KRF Sports app. Follow me on Twitter at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. But until next time, he's Josh. I'm John. Boomer Sooner.